Hello, and welcome to this series called I'm Pregnant, Now What? This is a series that I have created to help empower you to navigate the system. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Alicia. I am the podcast host of the podcast Cuppa with a doula. I am an exercise physiologist, I am a doula, and I am a mom to two. The idea for this series came from doing my podcast and realizing that a lot of first-time moms actually had no idea about their options. They didn't know what they didn't know, and it was hard for them to get answers to questions they didn't know they had. So the aim with this series is to target mums to be and women who might be trying to conceive or thinking of conceiving soon, and try and piece together information about how to navigate the system. So this series is mostly aimed at women that will be birthing within a hospital, whether it's a private or a public hospital. But a lot of the information I do share can actually still be applied to another model of care like home birth or even free birthing. And so the aim of this series is essentially to help you to identify what birthing options are available to you. Learn how to question whether it's in your pregnancy or, for your general health, learning to question your healthcare providers, learning to say no if there are things that you don't want to do or it doesn't align with you. Learning that pregnancies, babies come in different sizes and shapes and things might look different, but it doesn't mean it's abnormal. Also, potential questions that you might want to ask your healthcare provider. So in this series, I'm trying to explore those topics and really give you the keys so that you have the knowledge and you can make decisions. You are in control, you have knowledge, you are in charge of your pregnancy, of your decisions, and you can make the most informed decisions because you know where you're going, you know what's coming, and you know what to ask. So if you know anyone who's pregnant, if you're trying to conceive, if you're pregnant right now, please share this with your mum friends, share this with your pregnancy buddies, share this with anyone you know who might be trying. Please share it so that I can help as many mums out there, as many mums to be, to have an empowered pregnancy, labor, and postpartum. Thank you so much for sharing the word out there. If you want to check out my podcast, I have put the links in the show notes. The name is Cuppa with a doula. It's available on most podcast listening platform. It's available on this channel on YouTube, and you can actually watch the recordings with my guests instead of just having the audio. And please share the podcast as well. Every week I have a mom or a mom-to-be that comes and shares their story of pregnancy, birth, and parenting. And every month I have a health professional come on the podcast and chat about their area of expertise. So there is a lot happening on the podcast. There is already a lot of birth stories and professional interviews out there. So do check it out. Do share it. Spread the word. Do tell your friends about it. I'd really appreciate it. This podcast and this series is only able to exist because of you. So thank you so much for watching it, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Hello, and welcome back to this series where I take you through what to do after you find out that you're pregnant. How exciting! Again, congratulations on your pregnancy. That is so exciting. So through this series, what I'm hoping to do is to help guide you in your pregnancy. So from the very first minute that you find out you're pregnant, I want you to be informed. I want you to have all the keys so that you know what to do. You are in charge of your pregnancy. You are the one making decisions. You are not going in blind to see your GP or to see your midwife. You are full of questions and you want to know more. In this episode, what I wanted to talk about was a few things. So one, I want to talk about the art of questioning. So questioning your medical team and the art of saying no. why am I doing an episode about questioning and saying no? Because it seems pretty obvious that you can ask questions and it seems pretty obvious that you can say no. Those are the things I wish I knew in my first pregnancy when I was going through the medical system. What I mean by the art of questioning is, yes, you can ask questions, but through my podcast, what I've realized is that a lot of moms and moms to be don't know that you can ask questions and you can say no. So I'm giving you permission, not that you need permission, but I'm telling you, you can question and you can say no. And questioning can sound like, well, okay, I can ask questions. Yes, sure. But there is actually, not that there is an art to it, but there is a way to do it that will help you. So in terms of questioning, the reason why you want to do it is because you definitely want to know a lot about pregnancy, birth, and parenting. There's always something that you want to know. So when you're going through whatever model of care you're going through, whether you are seeing a midwife, you are seeing your GP, or you are seeing an obstetrician, or you are seeing a private midwife, there's definitely a lot of questions. So you might see that whoever you're seeing, they will be recommending tests, they will be recommending ultrasounds, they will be recommending blood tests, they will tell you about medical investigations, basically, that you can do in your pregnancy. Now, something I want to highlight is any of those recommendations, whether they say, oh, at 12 weeks, you do the 12-week scan, at 20 weeks, you do the morphology scan, and then maybe at 30 or 34 weeks, you do a growth scan. Those are all recommendations. Whether they tell you that they're recommending it or they're saying, oh, at 12 weeks, you do the new core translucency scan, or at 12 weeks, you do the 12-week scan, it's a recommendation. So you can say no. If you do not want to have this scan, or you do not want to have any scans, or you do not want to do, for example, the gestational diabetes test, you can say no. You can 100% say no, and no one can argue with you because you've said no. In terms of questioning, so when you're being told or you're being recommended something, so for example, maybe I'll put it in examples just so it makes a bit more sense. So for example, you might be told that if you're birthing in the hospital, when it comes to the ejection of the placenta, they will inject you with Syntocin. So they will do what's known as an active management of your third stage. Now, when you hear this, it might sound like, well, that's how it is. That's procedure. So therefore, when after I've birthed my baby, I will get the injection because that's how the hospital does it. Well, no. Just because it's maybe procedure or just because that's how they're telling you they do things doesn't mean that's how it's going to be with you. So when it comes to questioning in your pregnancy, I want you to use the acronym BRAIN. So spelled BRAIN. The reason for it is because if you follow this acronym, it will help you to question effectively and get the whole picture, not just what you're asking. Because sometimes in the public system, you only get the answers that you've asked the questions to. They're not going to tell you any more than what you've asked. So therefore, you need to ask effectively so that you're getting the whole picture. You're not just getting part of the picture. So this acronym BRAIN, it stands for benefits, risks, alternative, intuition, and nothing. So for example, if we go back to my example of ejecting the placenta and it being actively managed by the hospital, when you're being told that this is how your third stage will be, now you can ask questions like, okay, what is the benefit of an active third stage? So what is the benefit of you injecting me with Syntocin? Then you can say, what are the risks of you injecting me with Syntocin? My favorite question, A, alternative. Always ask, always ask. I cannot stress that enough about an alternative, because even when they word their sentence by saying things like, this is what we do, this is procedures, in your pregnancy, we do or you will do this, there is always an alternative. Ask it. So back to my example, what is an alternative? What is something else that can be done instead of an active management of the third stage? And then I stands for intuition. Intuition is obviously extremely personal. It's about, what do you want? Does what they're telling you resonate with you? Or is it raising a flag? Are you feeling inside of you that that's not what you want to do? Or on the opposite hand, are you totally comfortable with this and it really feels like this is the right thing for you? The I part of brain is extremely personal. What you're comfortable with, someone else may not be, and that's fine. You don't have to justify it. If inside of you there's something about it, there's something that just doesn't feel right, your gut is saying, nah, then listen to it. Intuition, definitely listen to it. What does it mean for you when you're told this? And then my second favorite question is, what happens if I do nothing? Do ask that question. It might sound really silly because it's like, okay, do ask this question. I cannot stress it enough. Honestly, this was my favorite question when I was pregnant. It was, what happens if I don't do what you're recommending? Because that's when you're actually being told about alternatives. And also, I feel like you're getting the whole benefits, risk, alternative questions all in one go answered. So always good to ask about benefits of any intervention, any scans, any blood test. Same for the risks, and definitely about alternatives. But do ask the nothing question. So the question is, what happens if I don't have an active third stage? And then usually they will tell you about, it might be that they emphasize the risks, or they tell you that, well, you can decline, you can say no, and that's fine. Or they will tell you about alternatives. They can say, well, oh, okay, well, instead of this, you can do that. Or they will say, well, if you don't want it, then that's how it is. But do ask it. Do ask, because it's really important. What happens if I do nothing? What happens if I don't do what you're recommending? Just so you get the whole picture. Again, it's about getting the whole picture. So I will repeat this again, just so you know. It might be repetitive. You might want to skip this part. BRAIN. The acronym stands for benefits. What are the benefits of this scan, blood test, procedure that you're recommending? Risks. What are the risks of this intervention, scan, procedure that you're recommending? Alternative. What other choice do I have other than this scan, procedure, intervention that you're recommending? Intuition. What does it mean inside of me? What do I feel about this intervention, procedure, or scan? Do I feel okay with it, or does it just not sit well with me? And my favorite question, very biased I am, what happens if I don't do it? What happens if I don't have this scan? What happens if I don't have this ultrasound? What happens if I don't have this procedure? So that's the BRAIN acronym for you. And I definitely want you to be using it in your pregnancy appointments, so in your antenatal care. Definitely use it when you are preparing for your birth, just so you know what options are available to you. And again, you're getting the whole picture. And then definitely in your postpartum period as well, because you definitely need to know the whole picture, what's available to you, what happens if, everything, get the whole picture. So that's questioning there for you. Now, something big I want to touch on. And again, this is something you might know, and that's fantastic if you do. If you don't know this, I want to talk about consent. Now, consent it's sometimes not well understood. The definition of consent is that when it comes to a procedure, an intervention, a blood test, an ultrasound, whatever it is, whether it's in your pregnancy or it's for anything for your health, right? Consent means that you have been explained what is this procedure, you have been told about the benefits, you have been told about the risks, and the medical professional is asking whether you agree to receive this blood test, ultrasound, intervention or not. Now, consent cannot be respected if you are being told, we are going to do this blood test. Do you agree? That's not consent, because you haven't been told about the benefits, you haven't been told about the risks. So you need to know what this procedure, intervention, and test is. You need to know about the risks associated with any of those. so that you can make a decision because you know the pros, you know the cons. You make the decision as to whether you agree to proceed with said intervention, blood test, or scan. This is consent there. So if this is you, you are in a position where you are walking into, for example, a blood test, or basically you're walking into something and they're saying, we are going to do this. Do you agree? And you have no idea what they're talking about, what that word means. You have no idea what is actually going to happen to you. Then you can say, hang on, I don't know what you're talking about. I do not understand what this intervention is. No, I don't consent to it. Not until I know the benefits, the risks, and the alternatives as well. So consent is everything. Within the hospital system and within the medical system, you always need to agree to every single procedure. It's even to the point that medical professional cannot touch you without you giving your consent. So therefore, you need to agree to everything. Now, why am I saying it over and over again? Because it is really important that you understand that consent is not being asked, I'm going to do this. Are you okay with it? That's not consent there. Consent means that you have been explained the benefits and the risk, and therefore you can make an informed decision. That is what consent is. So therefore, if you have not got the benefits and the risk, you do not know what this procedure is, you do not know what is going to happen to you, essentially, I want you to say, no, I don't consent because, and you don't even have to justify when you give consent or when you don't give consent, you don't have to justify yourself. You never have to say, I'm refusing this because, or I decline this. You never have to justify why. But if you want to know more and you're being asked, do you consent? You can say, no, I don't consent right now because I would like to know the benefits and the risks first, or I would like to know what this word means. I would like to know what's going to happen to me when you do this. So it's really important, and I cannot stress it enough, especially in birth, but sometimes in pregnancy, it might seem like you have to make decisions straight away. Like you presented with all this information, it's overwhelming, and then you have to make a decision on the spot. Chances are you don't. Even in an emergency, there is always time. There's always time to ask for consent. They cannot, even in an emergency, take you to the theatre without you having agreed to being taken to the theatre to have an emergency C-section. You always have to agree. And there's always time to ask for consent, to explain what it is. There's always time for it. I want you to remember that. If you do not know what's going to happen to you, if you do not understand the words that are being thrown at you, if you do not know what any of this means, then say, stop. I don't know what you mean. Please explain it to me, because then I can make a decision. You do not want to be blinded into saying yes because it feels like it's imminent and you have to do it right now. You definitely want to know everything. You want to know the benefits, the risk, the alternatives, and you want to have time to think about it. So when you have antenatal appointments and or you're starting to discuss your birth preferences, there is time. You do not have to say yes on the spot, and you can discuss those scans, procedures, blood tests over a few appointments if you need to, because sometimes it takes time to decide if this is really what you want to do or not, and that's fine. It is always your decision. Now, the second thing I want to touch on with consent. Consent can be withdrawn at any point without any justification. I want you to remember that. If you have signed a document, if you have said, yes, I agree to this, if you have said yes to a question saying, do you consent to X, Y, and Z, you can withdraw this consent at any point. Even if you have signed a document, you can withdraw it at any point. You can say, stop, I do not want this anymore. That's fine. No one can then force you and or say, oh, but you've signed this document, or you said yes 2 minutes ago. No one can say that, because consent can be withdrawn at any point without justification. I cannot stress this enough again. You can say no. You can say, actually, I've changed my mind. This is not what I want. Or you can say, actually, no, I need more time to think about it. That's fine. That is entirely your decision. Remember, the power is in your hands. I want you to feel that the power is in your hands. You can say yes, just like you can say no to anything. They cannot hold it against you. They cannot force you to do anything. It's your decision. It's your body. Even if you've said yes before, even if you said yes at your 26-week appointment and it's now 34 weeks and you do not want this intervention anymore, if you say no at this minute, or you say stop, or you say I don't agree to this, or I don't want it anymore, that's how it is. In the moment you've said no, consent is withdrawn. That's how it is. So remember that you always have the power. If at any point, any point, you change your mind, even if, let's say, you've said, okay, let's have an emergency C-section, that's fine, but then it sits with you for a little bit and you go, actually, no, I don't want it, you can say no. You can say no. You can withdraw your consent. You can say, actually, we're not doing this. That's fine. Just remember that. If you are going through the hospital system, you are seeing an obstetrician, a midwife, whoever in your medical team, even if it's not related to pregnancy, birth, parenting, if you are seeing a medical professional, they are giving you their professional opinion on what they recommend you should do for, in terms of scan, in terms of intervention, in terms of investigations, maybe, and it's just not sitting right with you, or you disagree with that person, and you can disagree even if you don't have a medical background. You can say, actually, I don't feel like you're listening to me, or I don't feel like you've fully understood me, or I don't feel like this is the right thing for me. You can ask for a second opinion. You can say no. You can say, thank you for your opinion. I have heard what you've told me, but at this point, I disagree with you. And you can just walk away from that appointment and ask for a second opinion. It is in your rights to get a second opinion on anything, whether it's pregnancy related, or it's, parenting related, or it's not at all related to pregnancy postpartum, and it's regarding your health in general. You can get a second opinion. That is in your rights. If you are living in Queensland and you are going through the public system for anything, whether, again, it's pregnancy related or not, you have the right to invoke Ryan's rule. I want you to remember that if you live in Queensland, you are going through the public system, you do not agree with the specialist, you do not agree with what they're recommending, you can invoke Ryan's rule, and you can say that to them. You can say, at this moment, I am invoking Ryan's rule. What it means is that when you invoke Ryan's rule, is that you are asking for them to step down and for them to find a second opinion for you. So they have to find someone else in the same specialty who will be able to review your case, review the circumstances, the investigations, everything that's been done, and give their professional opinion. You are asking for a second opinion. It is your right to get a second opinion if you wish to. And then once you've got that second opinion, if you still don't agree with it, you can invoke Ryan's rule. There is no limit as to how many times you can invoke this rule, as to how many second opinion you can get. It doesn't have to be just one other opinion. You can get however many second opinions you want, because if you're not happy, if it's not sitting right with you, again, think about your intuition. If your intuition is saying, I don't think they're listening to me, I don't think they're hearing me, I think they're missing something, then get a second opinion. Invoke Ryan's rule if you're in the hospital. It is your right to do so. If you are not being heard, if you are invoking Ryan's rule for any reasons, whether you want a second opinion, you do not agree with whatever the specialist is telling you, you don't agree with this, medical professional, you do not feel at ease with this medical professional, maybe this person is very aggressive in terms of their words, they're just not nice to you, they're not listening to you, something isn't right, you can ask for that person to step down. Because if you're not happy with the care you're being given, you have a right to get proper care. And if you're not being heard, please ask to see the manager. Please ask to see the team leader within the specialty that you're in, because you have a right, again, to get the care you want and the care you deserve. If you're not being heard, if that person, that professional, that specialist is not hearing you, then go to the head of the department, go to the team leader, go to whoever it is that's above them, and get that second opinion and get heard and get your case listened to if that's what you want. Again, it's your right, so do it. And so with this video, I will finish it here. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. This is something, as you can tell, I'm extremely passionate about. I really want you to get the care that you deserve when you're going through the system, whether it's for your pregnancy or not. I want you to be heard and I want you to be in charge. So where you can, use the BRAIN acronym. If you're not being heard, you're not being listened, and so on, get a second opinion, change care providers, invoke Ryan's rule, or ask to see the team leader, the manager, the director, the head of the department, whoever is in charge, to get yourself heard. Actually, you have a right to get the care that you need and you deserve. So definitely use that right. It is your right to decline any procedures. Anything that you're being told in pregnancy is a recommendation. You do not have to do it. You can say no to anything. You do not have to justify yourself. You can just say, no, I don't want to do this. Full stop. That's it. No one can do anything about it. So just know that it is legal for you to say no, for you to decline, for you to not do any of those recommended scans, for you to have no scans. It's up to you. The power is in your hands. I want you to remember that it is your body. It is your power. Use it. So with this, I will stop this video and I will leave you to think about what I've said, and hopefully you've gotten something out of it. Thank you for watching. Thank you.